The crimson warning lights bathed the Vorthok Empire's border station in an eerie glow as the night shift settled into their routine patrol duties. Sensor operator Crix had been monitoring the quantum detection grid for 12 hours straight, his 6 muscular arms moving with practiced precision across the glowing control panels. The deep space sensors stretched across 3 light years, forming an invisible net that nothing could pass through undetected. At least, that's what they had believed until now. The detection grid suddenly erupted in a symphony of alarms. Crix's large compound eyes widened as impossible readings flooded his screens. His secondary arms frantically adjusted the sensor calibration while his primary hands worked to isolate the source of the disturbance. Commander Thol, we have a major anomaly in Sector 12, Crix called out, his voice carrying across the bustling command center. Unknown vessel detected, moving at speeds that shouldn't be possible. Commander Thol's heavy footsteps echoed through the chamber as he approached the sensor station. His reptilian features, scarred from decades of border conflicts, twisted in concentration. The commander had seen everything in his 40 years of service. Smugglers trying to slip past Imperial patrols, rebel fighters attempting hit attacks, even the occasional space pirate, foolish enough to challenge the Empire's might. But nothing had ever made his most experienced sensor operator sound so shaken. Give me the full report, Crix. What exactly are we dealing with? Crix's clawed fingers danced across the holographic displays, pulling up the sensor data. Sir, the object achieved 0.75 light speed before our instruments could get a proper lock. The acceleration curve is completely impossible. It went from sublight to near-light speed in under 3 seconds, with no detectable propulsion signature. Commander's scaled brow furrowed as he studied the readings. That's faster than our own experimental warp drives. What about identification protocols? That's the problem, sir. The vessel then simply vanished from our sensors. No energy signature, no particle trail, no quantum wake. It's as if it just stopped existing. Crix pulled up another screen showing the Empire's vast database of known vessels. I've run the sensor profile through every species classification in our system. 47 conquered worlds, 312 catalogued spacecraft designs, and nothing even comes close to matching this profile. Commander Thol's scaled fingers drummed rhythmically against the console as his mind processed the implications. The Vorthok Empire had spent 3 centuries expanding across the galaxy, crushing resistance and absorbing entire civilizations into their domain. Their military intelligence was unmatched, their technology superior to anything they had encountered. Every species they had met fell before their advanced weaponry and superior tactics. Could it be a sensor malfunction? Some kind of equipment failure? Thol asked, though his instincts already told him the answer. Negative, sir. I've run full diagnostics on all detection arrays. The readings are clean and consistent across all sensor platforms. Whatever passed through our grid was real, and it was unlike anything we've ever encountered. The commander activated his personal communicator, connecting him directly to the station's tactical center. Lieutenant Vex, I need you to pull all patrol schedules for Sector 12. Have any of our ships reported unusual activity in the past solar cycle? A moment later, Lieutenant Vex's voice crackled through the speaker. Sir, Patrol Cruiser Razor reported a brief sensor ghost 3 hours ago, but they classified it as cosmic debris. Should I recall them for debriefing? Do it immediately, and activate deep range scanners across the entire border grid. I want every ship within 10 light years conducting active sweeps for unknown vessels. As Thal issued orders, Crix continued, analyzing the sensor data. The more he studied the readings, the more unsettled he became. The unknown vessel hadn't just moved faster than anything in their database, it had demonstrated technology that seemed to violate the fundamental laws of physics as they understood them. Commander Crix said quietly, there's something else. The quantum signature readings suggest the vessel might have been scanning our station during its pass. It wasn't just traveling through our space, it was gathering information. The temperature in the command center seemed to drop several degrees. For 300 years, the Vorthok Empire had been the ones doing the scanning, the cataloging, the conquering. They were the apex predators of their region of space, feared and respected by every species they had encountered. Send an immediate, priority message to Imperial Command, Thor ordered. Classification, highest priority. Unknown vessel with superior technology detected in Imperial space. Request immediate deployment of Hunter Squadron for investigation and possible first contact. Protocols. As the message raced toward the Imperial capital through quantum communication relays, The border station's sensors continued their frantic search of the surrounding space. But the mysterious craft had vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving behind only sensor readings that challenged everything the Vorthok Empire thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. Deep in space, far beyond the reach of Imperial sensors, the sleek human exploration vessel continued its silent journey through the void. Its adaptive hull shifted and flowed like liquid metal, perfectly invisible to conventional detection methods. Inside the ship's advanced command center, Captain Kim Jamin studied the data his ship had collected from the alien border station. Interesting, he murmured to his science officer. Their technology is more advanced than the preliminary reports suggested. We'll need to be more careful during our next observation run. The mysterious craft was already gone, leaving only questions and the growing realization that the Vorthok Empire might not be alone at the top of the galactic food chain. Admiral Zeth stood on the command bridge of the Imperial dreadnought Conquest, his massive frame casting a shadow across the tactical displays. The bridge hummed with activity as officers rushed between stations, their voices creating a symphony of controlled chaos. For the past 72 hours, reports had been flooding in from every corner of Vorthok space about the mysterious vessel that seemed to appear and disappear at will. The Admiral's cybernetic eye glowed red as he processed the incoming data, streams directly into his neural implants. Each report painted a more disturbing picture than the last. The unknown craft wasn't just passing through their territory, it was systematically studying every major Imperial installation with the methodical precision of a military reconnaissance mission. Admiral, priority transmission from mining, Colony 7 on Kepler 442, called out Lieutenant Nix from the communications array. Her forearms worked frantically across the control panels as she filtered through dozens of simultaneous reports. They're reporting a massive vessel hovering directly above their primary extraction facility. The miners are in complete panic. Before Zeth could respond, another officer interrupted. Sir, Trade Station Alpha in the Centauri arm is reporting the same phenomenon. A ship matching the unknown vessel's description appeared without warning and began scanning their cargo manifests and shipping routes. The Admiral's massive fist slammed down on the tactical table, causing the holographic star map to flicker momentarily. How is this possible? Our early warning systems extend 15 light-years in every direction. Nothing should be able to penetrate Imperial space without detection. Commander Keth, the ship's tactical officer, manipulated the star map to show the vessel's reported positions. Based on the timestamps of these sightings, the craft would need to travel at impossible speeds to cover these distances. It was spotted at Kepler 442 at 0800 hours, then appeared in the Centauri arm less than 30 minutes later. That's a journey that should take our fastest ships 3 days. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The Vorthok Empire had built its dominance on superior technology and overwhelming firepower. For 3 centuries, they had been the undisputed masters of faster-than-light travel, advanced weaponry, and military tactics. No species had ever challenged their technological supremacy. Admiral, Communications Officer Vor suddenly announced, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Priority alert from Patrol Squadron Gamma. They're reporting visual contact with the unknown vessel. Zeth's cybernetic eye blazed brighter as he activated the squadron's live video feed. On the main screen, the sleek form of the mysterious craft came into view. Even the hardened veterans on the bridge gasped at what they saw. The vessel was unlike anything in their extensive databases. Its hull seemed to flow and shift like liquid mercury, constantly changing shape and texture. Strange energy patterns danced across its surface, creating mesmerizing geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. By the ancient gods, whispered Captain Nex, the ship's science officer. The energy readings from that hull are off the charts. It's like the entire vessel is made of pure energy held in a semi-solid state. Sir, Patrol Squadron Gamma reports the vessel is conducting active scans of military shipyard Beta, Vor announced, his voice tight with concern. They're requesting immediate backup and authorization to engage. Admiral Zeth's mind raced through the tactical possibilities. Military shipyard Beta was one of their most classified installations, where prototype weapons and experimental spacecraft were developed. If this unknown species gained access to those secrets, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift dramatically. All units in the sector converge on coordinates 77 Mark IV immediately, Zeth commanded, his voice booming across the bridge. Weapons systems to maximum power, shields at full strength. Today we answer the question of who dares spy on the Vorthok Empire. The Conquest and her escort fleet of 12 heavy cruisers engaged their quantum drives, warping space-time around them as they raced toward the intercept coordinates. Within minutes they dropped out of hyperspace in a perfect attack formation, surrounding the mysterious vessel. Captain Rax aboard the destroyer, Talon, was positioned closest to the target. His ship's advanced sensors worked overtime, trying to penetrate the strange energy field surrounding the alien craft. "Admiral, I have the target locked in my sights. The vessel is approximately 800 meters long, but its mass readings are completely inconsistent. It's as if the ship exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously." "What's it doing now, Captain?" Zeth demanded. "Sir, it's continuing its scans of the shipyard as if we're not even here. The craft is completely ignoring our presence. It's like we're invisible to them." The Admiral's patience finally snapped. For too long, this unknown entity had violated Imperial space with impunity. "Captain Rax, you are authorized to engage. Show them the might of the Vorthok Empire." "With pleasure, Admiral." "All weapons. Target the unknown vessel. Fire." The Talon's plasma cannons erupted in brilliant streams of superheated energy. The destroyer's main batteries fired in perfect synchronization, sending waves of destructive force toward the mysterious craft. The space around the target lit up like a miniature star as the concentrated firepower struck what should have been solid hull plating, but something impossible happened. The plasma beams passed completely through the vessel as if it were made of nothing but light and shadow. The energy streams continued past the craft and dissipated harmlessly into the void beyond. "What in the name of the Empire?" Captain Rax's voice crackled over the communication channel, filled with disbelief. "Admiral, our weapons are having no effect whatsoever. It's like we're firing at a ghost." Admiral Zeth watched in stunned silence as the tactical display showed the complete failure of their attack. The unknown vessel continued its methodical scanning of the military shipyard, apparently completely unaffected by the Empire's most powerful weapons. "All ships, concentrate fire on the target," Zeth ordered, his voice growing more desperate. "Maximum power to all weapon systems." The entire Imperial fleet opened fire simultaneously. Plasma cannons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes, and antimatter charges filled the space around the mysterious craft with enough destructive energy to vaporize a small moon. The light from the concentrated barrage was so intense that the bridge crew had to activate protective filters on their view screens. When the energy dissipated, the alien vessel remained exactly where it had been, completely undamaged and still conducting its scans. It was as if the most powerful fleet in the galaxy had just fired blanks at an armored target. The mysterious craft then did something that chilled every warrior on the Imperial fleet to their bones. It slowly rotated to face the Conquest directly, as if finally acknowledging their presence. For a long moment, the two forces stared at each other across the void, the mightiest fleet of the Vorthok Empire and a single vessel that had just proven their weapons were utterly useless. Then, without any warning or apparent method of propulsion, the alien craft simply vanished, leaving the Imperial fleet alone in space, with the terrifying realization that they had just encountered something far beyond their understanding or ability to combat: the quantum teleportation chamber aboard the Conquest crackled with purple energy as the most powerful being in the known galaxy materialized on the bridge. Emperor Vorth stepped out of the swirling vortex, his ancient form radiating an aura of absolute authority that made even the hardened veterans of the Imperial Navy step back in reverence. At over 600 years old, the Emperor had personally led the conquest of dozens of worlds, his cybernetic enhancements and bioengineered longevity making him a living legend of warfare and strategy. His piercing golden eyes, enhanced with quantum processing implants, swept across the bridge as he took in the tactical situation. The Emperor's presence seemed to charge the very air around him with electricity. Officers who had faced death in countless battles found themselves trembling slightly in the presence of their immortal ruler. "Report, Admiral Zeth," the Emperor commanded, his voice carrying the weight of 3 centuries of absolute power. Admiral Zeth snapped to attention, his massive frame somehow seeming small in comparison to his sovereign. "My lord, the situation is unprecedented. We've deployed Battlefleet Alpha in full formation, 300 of our most advanced warships, including 5 Devastator-class dreadnoughts, 12 heavy cruisers, and our entire complement of fighter squadrons." The Admiral gestured toward the tactical display showing the enormous fleet formation. "Every weapon system in our arsenal has been brought to bear against this single vessel. Plasma cannons, antimatter torpedoes, quantum disruptors, Even our experimental phase-shift weapons, nothing has any effect whatsoever. The enemy craft appears to possess defensive technology that makes our most advanced shielding look primitive. Emperor Vorth's cybernetic I-word as it analyzed the sensor data streaming across the displays. In his 6 centuries of life, he had seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations. He had personally witnessed the development of technologies that seemed impossible, had conquered species with abilities that defied conventional physics. But this was different. This challenged the very foundation of Vorthok supremacy. "Show me the vessel," the Emperor ordered. The main view screen shifted to display the mysterious craft hovering in space like a predator studying its prey. Even the Emperor's enhanced vision struggled to comprehend what he was seeing. The ship's hull seemed to exist in a constant state of flux, its surface rippling and flowing like liquid metal caught in a perpetual dance. Strange geometric patterns pulsed across its exterior, creating hypnotic designs that seemed to shift depending on the viewing angle. "The energy signatures are completely unknown, my lord," reported Chief Science Officer Krell, his multiple sensor arrays working frantically to analyze the craft. "The vessel appears to be constructed from some form of programmable matter that can alter its molecular structure at will. Our quantum scanners detect mass readings that fluctuate between solid matter and pure energy." As if the alien vessel had been listening to their conversation, it suddenly moved with a speed that defied comprehension. One moment it was a distant speck on their sensors, the next it materialized directly in front of the Imperial flagship. The massive bulk of the mysterious craft filled their viewports completely, its strange hull patterns now visible in terrifying detail. The bridge crew stared in stunned silence as the alien vessel hovered, less than a kilometer from the Conquest's bow. At this distance, they could see that the craft's surface was covered in what appeared to be millions of microscopic components, all working in perfect harmony to create the flowing, shifting appearance they had observed from a distance. "Impossible," whispered Navigation Officer Trix. "Nothing that large should be able to move that quickly without generating massive gravitational distortions." Emperor Vorth's ancient hands clenched into fists as he stared at the vessel that dared to mock the might of his empire. "All weapons, concentrate fire on that craft immediately." Admiral Zeth's voice boomed across the fleet communication channels. "All ships, all weapons, maximum power. Show this intruder the true meaning of Imperial firepower." The response was immediate and overwhelming. 300 warships opened fire simultaneously, creating a light show that could be seen from neighboring star systems. Thousands of plasma bolts, antimatter missiles, and energy beams converged on the alien craft with enough combined firepower to shatter a planet's crust. The space around the mysterious vessel erupted in a series of explosions so massive that they created temporary artificial suns in the void. The barrage continued for a full minute, with wave after wave of destructive energy pounding the area where the alien craft hovered. The combined attack generated so much heat and radiation that the Imperial ships had to raise their shields to protect themselves from their own weapons backwash. When the assault finally ended and the energy signatures began to dissipate, every eye on the bridge strained to see the results of their attack. Surely nothing could survive such concentrated destruction, but as the brilliant afterglow faded, the alien vessel remained exactly where it had been, completely untouched and seemingly unaffected by the most devastating display of military might in galactic history. "By the ancient gods," Emperor Vorth breathed, his voice barely above a whisper. For the first time in centuries, the immortal ruler of the Vorthok Empire felt something he had almost forgotten: fear. Then the alien craft responded. A pulse of brilliant blue energy erupted from the mysterious vessel, expanding outward in a perfect sphere that washed over the entire Imperial fleet like a gentle wave. The energy field was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, crackling with patterns of electricity that seemed to dance and play across the hulls of the Vorthok ships. The effect was immediate and absolute. Every system aboard every ship in the fleet shut down simultaneously. The bridge of the Conquest plunged into darkness as the main power grid failed. Emergency lighting flickered on moments later, casting everything in an eerie red glow. "Weapons offline," reported Tactical Officer Grix, his voice filled with disbelief. "Shields down, propulsion systems dead, life support running on backup power only. Communications are down across the entire fleet," added Communications Officer Vor. "Whatever that pulse was, it completely disabled our technology without causing any structural damage." Emperor Vorth stood in the dim emergency lighting, watching as his mighty fleet hung helpless in space. 300 of the most advanced warships ever constructed, reduced to floating metal coffins by a single energy pulse from a vessel they couldn't even understand, let alone damage. Then, cutting through the silence like a blade, came a transmission that made everyone on the bridge freeze in terror. The voice was calm, measured, and spoke in perfect Vorthok, despite the fact that this was supposedly their first contact with this species. Attention, vessels of the Vorthok Empire, we come in peace and mean no harm to your people. Please stand down your weapons and prepare for diplomatic contact. We wish only to communicate. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Emperor Vorth stared at the alien craft that had just demonstrated the ability to disable his entire fleet with a single gesture, then offered to talk, peacefully as if nothing had happened. For the first time in 600 years of conquest and expansion, the Emperor of the Vorthok Empire realized he was no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. The massive doors of the Imperial throne room on Vorthos Prime slid open with a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the vast chamber. Emperor Vorth sat motionless on his ancient throne, carved from a single piece of crystallized starlight that had been harvested from the core of a dying sun. The throne room itself was a monument to 4 centuries of conquest. The walls were lined with trophies from defeated civilizations, weapons from conquered armies, and holographic displays showing the vast expanse of Imperial territory stretching across 47 star systems. But today, all of that seemed meaningless. The Emperor's golden eyes remained fixed on the massive tactical display floating in the center of the room. The holographic star map showed the current position of Battlefleet Alpha, 300 of the Empire's most advanced warships hanging dead in space, completely powerless after being disabled by a single pulse of alien energy. The sight was more devastating than any military defeat in Imperial history. Around the throne, his most trusted advisors argued in heated whispers, their voices creating a constant buzz of anxiety and fear. These were beings who had helped plan the conquest of entire worlds, who had never known defeat or shown weakness to any enemy. Now they stood in the shadow of the Imperial throne, struggling to comprehend a force that made their mighty empire seem like children playing with toys. General Khan, the Emperor's chief military strategist, stepped forward from the circle of advisors. His battle-scarred armor bore the marks of countless victories, and his cybernetic arm gleamed with weapon systems that had helped crush a dozen rebellions. My lord, we must face the reality of our situation. This unknown species has demonstrated technology that makes our most advanced ships look like primitive shuttles flying through space with chemical rockets. The general activated his personal holographic projector, showing detailed analysis of the alien vessel's capabilities. Their ship moved at impossible speeds, phased through our weapons as if they were made of light, and disabled our entire fleet without causing a single casualty. This level of restraint suggests either supreme confidence or a deliberate message. Emperor Vorth's ancient fingers tapped against the armrest of his throne, the sound echoing through the chamber like a funeral drum. Speak plainly, General. What are you suggesting, sir? We must assume this is an advanced scout for a full invasion force. If they possess hundreds or thousands of vessels with similar capabilities, the Empire faces complete annihilation. We should begin immediate evacuation of our core worlds and prepare for total war. Defense Minister Thrak, a massive creature with 4 arms and natural armor plating, shook his head vigorously. General, you're suggesting we abandon 4 centuries of expansion because of one ship? The Empire has never retreated from any enemy. We should be mobilizing every resource we have to develop countermeasures against their technology. And how exactly do you propose we fight an enemy our weapons cannot touch? General Khan shot back. Our most powerful plasma cannons passed through their hull like shooting at empty space. Our quantum torpedoes had no more effect than throwing rocks at a mountain. Emperor Vorth raised his hand, and the arguing voices immediately fell silent. His voice, when he spoke, carried the weight of absolute authority. Have they made any hostile moves beyond defending themselves when we attack them? Intelligence Chief Mox, a thin figure whose body was more machine than organic matter, stepped forward. His cybernetic implants glowed as he accessed the Empire's vast intelligence network. No, my lord. Our analysis of their behavior patterns shows remarkable restraint. They continue to scan our military installations and industrial complexes, but they have not attacked civilian targets, destroyed infrastructure, or made any demands. The intelligence chief activated a 3-dimensional star map that filled the center of the throne room. They seem genuinely curious about us, almost as if they're conducting some kind of scientific study. Their scans are thorough but non-destructive. They appear to be gathering information about our technology, our society, and our military capabilities. Emperor Vorth leaned forward on his throne, his enhanced vision studying the patterns of alien activity across his empire. Show me the full scope of their presence in our territory. Chief Mox manipulated the holographic display, and suddenly the throne room was filled with red indicators showing alien vessel positions throughout Imperial space. The sight sent a chill through every person in the chamber. Sire, we've now detected 17 separate vessels throughout Imperial space. They appear and disappear at will, completely ignoring our patrol routes and defensive formations. The Emperor's cybernetic I-word as it processed the tactical implications. 17 ships, each one apparently capable of disabling entire fleets. If they chose to attack simultaneously, they could cripple the Empire's military forces within hours. Our forces cannot track them, cannot harm them, and cannot escape from them, Mox continued. They have demonstrated complete superiority in every aspect of space warfare. Speed, stealth, defensive capabilities, and what appears to be some form of advanced energy weapon that can selectively disable technology without destroying it. The throne room fell into silence as the full scope of their situation became clear. For 4 centuries, the Vorthok Empire had built its power on technological superiority and overwhelming military force. They had conquered species after species by being faster, stronger, and more advanced than their enemies. Now they faced beings who made their most advanced technology look like primitive stone tools. Emperor Vorth had ruled for 400 years, leading his people from a single world to a galactic empire spanning nearly 50 star systems. He had personally commanded fleets in the conquest of the Zentari system, had overseen the absorption of the Crystalline Collective, and had crushed the Great Rebellion of the Outer Rim with ruthless efficiency. Every challenge he had faced had been overcome through superior firepower, better tactics, or more advanced technology. But this was different. This was not an enemy he could outfight, outthink, or overpower. This was a force that operated on a level so far beyond his understanding that traditional military thinking was completely useless. The Emperor stood slowly from his throne, his ancient frame still radiating power despite the weight of centuries. His advisors watched in silence as he walked to the great window that looked out over the capital city of Vorthos Prime. Below, millions of citizens went about their daily lives, unaware that their mighty empire hung by a thread. General Khan, the Emperor said without turning around, send immediate orders to all fleet commanders. Recall all military units to defensive positions around our core worlds. I want every ship we have protecting our most important systems. Yes, my lord. And our response to the alien presence. Emperor Vorth turned to face his advisors, and they could see something in his ancient eyes that none of them had ever witnessed before: uncertainty. Send a message to the unknown vessels. Use all available communication frequencies and transmission methods. Tell them that the Emperor of Vorth requests an audience. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. For the first time in Imperial history, they would be negotiating from a position of complete weakness. The mighty Vorthok Empire, conqueror of worlds and destroyer of civilizations, was about to ask for mercy from beings whose technology made them seem like gods. Intelligence. Chief Mox's optical sensors flickered with surprise. My lord, are you certain? This would be the first time in Imperial history that we have initiated diplomatic contact from a defensive position. The alternative is the complete destruction of everything we have built over for centuries. The Emperor replied, these beings could have wiped out our fleets, destroyed our worlds, and enslaved our people. Instead, they disabled our ships without killing anyone and offered to communicate peacefully. Perhaps it is time the Empire learned the meaning of wisdom instead of just strength. As the orders went out across the Imperial communication network, Emperor Vorth remained at the window, staring out at his capital city and wondering if he was about to save his empire or surrender it to beings whose intentions remained completely unknown. The transport shuttle carrying Emperor Vorth approached the human vessel. Discovery with a mixture of awe and trepidation. As they drew closer, the Emperor could see that the alien ship was even more magnificent than their long-range sensors had indicated. The hull seemed to pulse with living energy, its surface constantly shifting between different configurations, like a creature that was breathing in the vacuum of space. My lord, whispered General Khan, who had insisted on accompanying the Emperor despite the obvious risks, their ship appears to be growing larger as we approach. The hull is actually expanding to accommodate our shuttle. Emperor Vorth watched in fascination as a docking bay materialized on the side of the human vessel. the metal flowing like liquid to create a perfect seal for their shuttle. It was technology that defied everything the Empire understood about materials, science, and engineering. As they stepped aboard the human ship, the Emperor was struck by how different everything felt. The corridors were filled with a warm, golden light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air had a fresh, clean quality that reminded him of the forests on his homeworld before industrialization had claimed them. Most surprising of all, the artificial gravity felt completely natural, without the slight disorientation that even the most advanced Vorthok gravity generators produced. The meeting chamber was unlike anything in Imperial design. Instead of the cold, imposing architecture that the Vorthok favored, this room felt organic and welcoming. The walls curved gently, and soft lighting created an atmosphere of calm discussion rather than military confrontation. 3 humans waited for them in the center of the room, and Emperor Vorth found himself studying these beings who had so effortlessly demonstrated their superiority over his mighty empire. They were smaller than most Vorthok, with soft skin and delicate features that seemed almost fragile, yet these seemingly weak creatures commanded technology that made his empire's greatest achievements look primitive. The human representative stepped forward with a warm smile that immediately put the Emperor on guard. In his experience, smiles usually preceded betrayal or manipulation. Your Majesty, welcome aboard the Discovery. My name is Lee Minna, and I serve as the Chief Diplomatic Officer for the Earth Colonial Alliance. We are honored by your presence. The translation device on the Emperor's collar rendered her words in perfect Vorthok, complete with the proper honorifics and formal tones that showed respect for his imperial status. The fact that they understood such subtle aspects of his language sent another chill down his spine. You speak our language with remarkable fluency for beings we have never encountered before, the Emperor said carefully, testing to see how much they would reveal. Minna's smile widened slightly. We have been observing your empire for the past 50 years, Your Majesty. We've had considerable time to study your culture, your language, and your people. The Emperor's composure cracked for the first time in decades. 50 years, that's impossible. Our sensor networks extend across hundreds of light years. Our intelligence services monitor every species in this region of the galaxy. We would have detected any long-term surveillance operation. Park Junho, whose military bearing marked him as the human fleet commander, stepped forward. Your sensors are indeed impressive, Emperor Vorth, but they're designed to detect conventional matter and energy signatures. Our ships use programmable matter holes that can shift between multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing us to exist partially outside normal spacetime. He gestured toward the wall, which suddenly became transparent, showing the vast expanse of space beyond. What you're seeing now is our ship existing in normal space, but we can also do this. The view shifted, and suddenly they seemed to be looking at the same space from a completely different angle, as if they were viewing it through a lens that bent reality itself. We can phase our vessels through dimensions that your current technology cannot detect or access. To your sensors, we simply don't exist. Dr. Kim Sora, a woman whose eyes sparkled with scientific curiosity, activated a holographic display that filled the center of the room. The technology you witnessed during our encounter, what your people call impossible, is actually standard equipment for human exploration vessels. We developed these capabilities specifically to study other civilizations without causing interference or panic. The hologram showed detailed schematics of human technology that made the Emperor's head spin. Dimensional phase shifters, quantum matter manipulators, consciousness-linked navigation systems, and dozens of other innovations that were beyond anything in the Vorthok database. You've been studying us like laboratory specimens, Emperor Vorth said, his voice carrying a mixture of anger and humiliation. For what purpose? Are you planning to conquer us? Add us to some cosmic collection? Minna's expression became more serious. Not at all, Your Majesty. We study civilizations to determine whether first contact would be beneficial for both our species. We've observed many different societies throughout this galaxy over the past several centuries. Some, like yours, expand primarily through conquest and military force. Others grow through trade, exploration, and cooperation. We've learned that peaceful contact works best when both sides can benefit. Captain Choi Hyen-woo, who had been monitoring tactical displays at his station, turned to face the Emperor. We want you to understand something important, Your Majesty. During our 50 years of observation, we could have eliminated your fleet, destroyed your infrastructure, or conquered your worlds at any time. Our technology makes such actions trivially easy. He brought up a tactical display showing the positions of human ships throughout Vorthok space. We currently have 47 vessels distributed across your empire. Each one could disable your planetary defense systems within minutes. But we chose to reveal ourselves peacefully because we believe there's a better path forward. Emperor. Vorth looked around at these beings who had made his mighty empire seem like children playing with primitive weapons. Everything he had built over 4 centuries of conquest and expansion could be swept away by these humans without them even breaking a sweat. Yet they sat here offering friendship instead of demanding surrender. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. Coexistence, Minar said simply. Trade agreements that benefit both our civilizations, cultural exchange programs that let our peoples learn from each other, and shared scientific advancement that could push both our species to new heights of achievement. She gestured toward another holographic display showing star charts and resource distributions. Your empire has built something remarkable: vast mining operations, efficient manufacturing systems, and established trade routes that span dozens of star systems. These are achievements we respect and admire, Dr. Kim Sora added. In return, we can offer technology that could advance your civilization by centuries. Clean energy systems that could power your worlds without environmental damage. Medical advances that could extend lifespans and eliminate diseases. And transportation. Technology that could connect distant parts of your empire instantaneously. The Emperor considered his options carefully. His military was completely useless against these humans, but they had chosen diplomacy over destruction. Perhaps there was wisdom in their approach that his warrior culture had never considered. Very well, he said finally. The Vorthok Empire accepts your proposal for peaceful cooperation. But understand this, we are a proud people with our own traditions and ways of life. We will not be made into vassals or puppets of a superior power. Minar's smile returned, warm and genuine. We wouldn't want vassals, Your Majesty. Vassals are weak and dependent. We want partners, equals who can contribute their own unique strengths to a relationship that benefits everyone involved. As the negotiations continued over the following hours, Emperor Vorth found himself genuinely impressed by these humans. They showed respect for Vortsak culture while sharing technologies that could revolutionize imperial society. They offered partnership without condescension and cooperation without conquest. When the human fleet finally departed Vorthok space, they left behind detailed blueprints for new technologies, cultural exchange protocols, and a treaty that would reshape both civilizations. Emperor Vorth stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human ships phase out of normal space with technology that still seemed like magic to his people. For the first time in his long life, the Emperor realized that sometimes the greatest strength was knowing when not to fight. The galaxy was vast enough for both empires, one built on conquest and military might, the other on exploration and peaceful advancement, and perhaps, working together, they could build something greater than either could achieve alone. The age of Vorthok expansion through conquest was ending, but the age of cooperation and mutual growth was just beginning. The end